الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأزواجه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. In the previous session we stopped at Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's name Al-Afu. Al-Afu, which means the pardoner, the one who forgives, is very similar to Al-Ghafur. And we talked about some of these attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the past. At this time, with this name, I would just like to explain the little difference between this name and some of the other names or attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that are used with a similar meaning. There are three words that are used for very similar meaning, which is forgiveness. One is صفح. فاصفح الصفح الجميل فاعفوا واصفحوا. صفح, صاد, fa and ha. صفح. صفح in Arabic language means when someone makes a mistake, you don't blame the person for it. You don't shout at the person for it. You don't remind the person of that mistake. So it may be that you are upset in your heart, but mainly this refers to when it comes to talking to this person and dealing with this person, you would not even bring it up. You will not mention his mistake that he have done something like this. This is safh. But in your heart, you may still have that feeling that I didn't like him and I didn't like him doing this thing, and I still have that feeling that why did he do this? But still, with all of those feelings inside the heart, the person is not mentioning it to this person. This is called safh. Another word that is used very similar to it is called ghufran. Ghafara yaghfir, to forgive. And mainly ghafara means satara, which means to cover it up. So when you say that I forgive this person, aghfiru lahu, I forgive him, which means I'm covering it up on him. Simply means you are not going to be mentioning his mistakes to other people. This is ghafara, to cover up people's mistakes. It's an attribute that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves. Of course, a lot of these attributes are leading us to many of the things that we need to be learning about from akhlaq of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, morality in Islam. But if we go into those details, then we may not be able to keep this topic intact. And at the same time, I would like in these sessions that we concentrate on the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala more than anything else, and our connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through these names. So this is why we try to avoid the side tracks as much as possible. So ghufran mainly refers to covering it up. And when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does the maghfirah of the person, simply refers to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not humiliate this person in akhirah. He has forgiven him. He got the maghfirah, which means now his sins are covered up and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not present them to public anymore. And the third word, which is used for similar meaning, is afu, which is the attribute that we are talking about now. And that all three, they all mean forgiving. But forgiving in different ways. I have forgiven him, which means I'm not going to mention it to him anymore. I won't talk to him about it. I have forgiven him. I will not insult him. I will not mention it to anyone else. But afu is even beyond this. Afu goes a level beyond these two ways. And that is, you forgive the person, and afa yafu in Arabic language means to erase something. When you erase something totally, it is afu. For example, you wrote something, then you get the eraser, and then you erase it. When you erased it, now you did the afu of those words from the paper. So those words do not exist on this paper anymore. When there is an earthquake, or some of the cities that are abundant and for years and years they are known resides over there, and after maybe hundreds of years, in Arabic language the word used for them is afatid diyar, which means these are all erased from the surface of the earth. Nothing exists anymore. So this is what exactly afu means, that a person has committed sins after sins and after sins, and finally when this person repents to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as he does this safh, he will not mention it to him anymore, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he grants him the ghufran, which means he will cover it up on him, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants him the safh, which means now he is erasing all of these sins from his records, so even the angels won't be able to present that as a witness against this person in akhirah. This is safh. That is erased from this person's records now. And this is an attribute that normally human beings don't like to adopt. We like to keep it in record at least for some time and for years, so that if this person would do it again, we can tell him, look at your record. You did it at that time, on that day, at that time. You did this also before. And you did it again at that time. And you did it in that situation. And here you're doing it again. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He loves human beings so much that He does not want to keep those as witnesses. And He forgives. He does not even remind the person. At least if he wants, He can remind. He can remind the person that you did it. I have erased it and you know it. But He won't even do that because it's against the safh, against the forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These are three attributes of Allah. Safh, He forgives, which means He won't remind, and He covers it up, He won't bring it in public, and He does the afu, which means He will erase it totally from this person's record, as if this person had never committed the sin. This is what Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said in the hadith, "At-ta'ibu min al-dhanbi kaman la dhanba lah." The person who seeks forgiveness from a sin, repents to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he is just like a person who have never committed a sin. He will be just like a person who have never committed a sin. This is what afu means, which means everything is erased from this person's records. Now, this really gives people like me a lot of hope that sometimes you feel that I have done so many wrong things in my life. So now, when we study the biographies of the great scholars of Islam who spend their lives serving the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, doing so many good things, and a thought comes to our mind that there is no way that I can be like those people. There is no way I can even get in that direction. Because these people, they devoted their lives for it. There is so much. But this attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opens every door of hope, and not only just false hope, reality that can be seen in front of our eyes, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He erases everything. He is going to just make everything go away from my record, and I'm starting fresh. So if I can really start something fresh, why not? Then let me then start working from now on. And this will be the turning point in my life, and from this day on, I will inshallah start working in that direction. And we see not few, we see hundreds of scholars, not general public, hundreds of great scholars of Islam who spend large years of their lives, a lot of years, a lot of time of their lives, they spend them totally in a different direction, doing a lot of other things. All of a sudden this person changes. Fudail ibn Iyad rahmatullahi alayhi, Malik ibn Dinar rahmatullahi alayhi. And then you go a little behind there in the history and you will see Sahaba ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'in, what they came from and then what they turned into after coming to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So this thing is telling us Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Afu subhanahu wa ta'ala, that His doors are always open, doors of forgiveness, And not only that, He forgives, and then it's in the record, and every time someone goes on the computer and he types your name, he will see, okay, this person have done all of these things. No, there is nothing like this over there. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala erases these things from the person's record. So no one can see it anymore. Even the angels won't remember it anymore. In fact, we know in the hadith that, or in the, through the Quran and hadith, that when a person commits a sin, there are 4 witnesses against this person. There are 4 witnesses against this person each time a person commits a sin. Number 1, the place where this person have committed the sin. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that in Surah Al-Zilzal, إِذَا زُلْزِلَتِ الْأَرْضُ زِلْزَالَهَا. And there is an ayah, يَوْمَئِذٍ تُحَدِّثُ أَخْبَارَهَا بِأَنَّ رَبَّكَ أَوْحَى لَهَا. On that day, the earth will start revealing all of its news and secrets. So it will start speaking up on the, for the people, either for or against whatever the person have done on it. This is why we see that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam encouraging us to perform salat different places, change the position. So all of these different places will witness for you. Same thing when a person commits a sin, that place will witness for this person. And that will witness against the person that this person have committed this sin on this part of the earth. The second witness are the angels. The angels that are with the person and they are seeing the person doing it. The third witness that will be presented are the records that has been written by these angels. That look, when you are doing this. And if a person, what is the difference between these records and between angels witnessing? The record simply means if a person denies these records, then he has to deny all of his good deeds also, because good and bad, everything was written. And if he does not believe that he have in these records, and he says, no, I don't believe that I have done any of these things, simply means he is rejecting his good deeds also, and he has to now find some proofs that I have done something good. What's the proof? It's in my record. And if this is in your record, then the other things are in your record too. So this is the third witness. And the fourth witness is the person's body himself. اليوم نختم على أفواههم وتكلمنا أيديهم وتشهد أرجلهم بما كانوا يكسبون. So, Afu simply refers to when a person turns to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and seeks Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's forgiveness. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes all of these witnesses forget about this person's sin, and none of these will be able to witness against this person in Akhirah. Look at the great rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He will make the angels forget about it. He will erase it from this person's record. He will make that space forget about it. He will make his own body parts forget about it, and they will not speak against him. This is what Afu means. And we can see what a great rahmah it is for us, and for those of us who have really disobeyed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala up to now. This gives us a lot of hope and opens every door of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's rahmah, and turning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and turning to the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for us. As we benefit from this attribute of Al-Afu in this manner, by knowing that we can turn to Allah, everything will be forgiven, everything will be erased, and no more witnesses against us. At the same time, another great benefit that we get by learning this name is that as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Al-Afu, and we benefit from it, and we love Allah to be Al-Afu, then anyone that is under us, he would love us to be Afu also. Whenever we have any control over any situation, people who are under that situation, they love us to be Afu also. You can hurt people, you can harm people, you can take revenge from people, you can hurt people, you can do a lot of things, and these are the people who have done wrong to you. This is not someone who have not done wrong to you. You won't be doing zulm if you go and do these things to these people. If you hurt these people, if you take this case to the court, if you take them to the court, if you sue them, if you do this, you may not be doing zulm on this person. You will be it will be totally adl and justice. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves this quality of Al-Afu. And just as we want Allah to be Afu with us, forget it, forgive him, erase it, as if this person have never done it. Just imagine at a time when you can go and hurt this person, you go and shake hands with this person and say, Assalamu alaikum, brother. Everything is away now, everything is out, and we are brothers now. Imagine what would be the feeling of that person. If you call that person, and instead of that person thinks, as he sees your name and your number in his caller ID, his heart is shaking up, and he picks up the phone, knowing that now there will be fight, there will be curses, there will be so many things, but I have to take it because this person can do a lot to me at this time. So whatever he will say, I will accept it, I will take it, I will be quiet, because otherwise, if I say something in return, he will get even more upset and he will do this, he will do that. And as he picks up the phone, he hears, Assalamu alaikum, brother, Assalamu alaikum, sister. I'm just calling to let you know you don't have to worry about anything. Everything is forgiven, everything is done, don't worry about it. Subhanallah, what a quality this would be. This is Afu. This is what we love to see from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for us. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the hadith Qudusi, that when people have rahmah on human beings like them, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will have rahmah on them. There are so many hadiths in which Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam shows us that the way you treat people, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will treat you the same way. You always like to take revenge and make people pay for their mistakes. This is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will treat this person. You forgive people and you have the quality of forgiving people, letting people go, and not even insulting this person, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will deal with this person in the same way. There are hundreds of hadiths that are indicating to this. Inshallah, some other time we can go in those hadiths. And especially if you study the abwab, the topics, the chapters of akhlaq in the books of ahadith, you will find a lot of these ahadith there. For example, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says in a hadith, a person who sees someone doing something wrong and he covers up that person's mistake is not a crime that he's doing against someone else. This person, say for example, you saw someone that was eating haram. Now, he's not hurting anyone else. That was a sin between him and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No one else is being hurt by it. And they have two choices. Either you go in public and start telling people, look, he always eats haram. I have seen him doing this. The second choice is you go and tell this person, brother, this is not allowed, and this was haram, and that's it. You end it there, you don't mention it to people, so you cover up people's sins. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says a person who has this quality of covering up people's mistakes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will cover up his faults in akhirah. So, as I said, hundreds of hadiths that are regarding this topic, that the way you want Allah to treat you, treat people in the same way. And especially this quality of Al-Afu is something that we all needed. And we really need this thing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to erase everything, not to bring them in public, not to hold us responsible for our mistakes. We have done a lot. We are doing a lot. We will be doing a lot. May Allah forgive all of us, but the way of achieving it and getting it, number one is connection with this attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and number two, then adopting this same quality with others, that you start forgiving people. Then we adopt the quality of we forgive people, we don't let people go, and you don't hold people responsible for wrong things that they have done to us, regardless of how much harm they may have caused to us. That's not the point. It's not that, oh, if it was $100 I would have forgiven them, but this is million. Quality is a quality. If you have the quality, then whether it's million or whether it's the whole world, whatever that may be, but it's your quality. And you don't want to sell this quality for any price, regardless of what that may be. There is a hadith in the Sahih. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, there was a person in the previous ummah. He was a wealthy person and not too much into the deen, fulfilling the fara'id, but not working too hard towards deen. He's doing his obligations, fara'id, and then he's in his business. His habit was, people used to come and take loan from him. And he had stores. So if a person would approach him with has no money to pay for the merchandise at that time, so this person would let him go at that time, okay, you can pay it later on. And he had told the people that were working for him that if you see any person who's not able to pay it or who cannot afford to pay for something, just give it to him. And if people would come to you and they tell you that they cannot pay it back, just forgive them, just let them go. This was the instruction given to the workers. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, when this person died and his deeds were presented to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not look at any of his deeds, and he said to the angels that this person used to let people go and he used to look for those who are in need and fulfill their needs. Today he is in need of my afu. And if he was granting people, he cannot be more afu than I am, and therefore I'm granting him everything that he needs today. Because human beings cannot be more afu than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if this person is just doing that favor to every person, is helping every person, and he is forgiving every person, and people are coming and taking things from him and he knows he may not pay me back, okay, give it to him, we'll see later on. And that later on this person says, oh, I'm sorry, I can pay it. Okay, don't worry about it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says today he has to pay me and he does not have the price to pay me. I'm going to hold him responsible for this? No, I won't, because I'm a greater afu than him, and I'm letting him go and he gets whatever he wants. So this is something really very important lesson for us. A great lesson for us, that we all start adopting this quality of al-afu with our family members, with people around us, with our neighbors, and then even with our enemies, even with people who don't like us, with people who hate us, with people who totally, they are after us. We should be practicing the same quality with those people. That we be afu. Let them go. Don't worry about it. Another attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Ar-Ra'uf, the compassionate, Jalla Jalaluhu subhanahu wa ta'ala. What does Ar-Ra'uf means? In Arabic language, Ra'fa is translated as Shiddatul Rahmah. When a person has a lot of rahmah, a lot of mercy on someone, this is called Ra'fa. And we talked in detail about rahmah in the past. But there is little difference between Ra'fa and Rahmah. And I would just like to explain that very briefly and then move on, inshallah. Rahmah means mercy. Ra'fa, Ra'uf, refers to kindness. And kindness simply means, Rahmah, you will have to see a situation when all of a sudden you will have a lot of mercy for this person. If a person comes to you who is, mashallah, very well-to-do, healthy, wealthy, has everything, you may not have the feeling of rahmah for this person. He does not need it. He does not need mercy at this time. He may need admiration. He needs something else from you, but he does not need any rahmah from you at this time. He's not even looking for it, for mercy. But shafaqah, ra'fa, is something that every person needs it at all times. And this is the quality that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have blessed mothers with, that they have a lot of ra'fa for their children. So regardless of how the child behaves, in what situation the child is in at that time, the mother has that shafaqa, that kindness, that ra'fa for the child. Which means, when you see someone that you love, and especially people who are in need of you, when you see those people, all of a sudden some feeling comes into your heart that you want to hug the person, you want to kiss the person, you want to love the child, you want to do something for this person. What is this? This is called shafaqah. Rahmah is when this person is in need and you have mercy on this person and do something for the person. This is rahmah. Or at least you have that feeling. But shafaqah, even when this person is having everything, you're feeling in your heart that you have the kindness towards this person. This feeling is called shafaqah. This feeling is called ra'fa. And this is what kindness refers to, that you be very kind to this person. This is why Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, with different attributes that is mentioned about him and part of the seerah that are mentioned in Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mentioned in an ayah of Quran this very specific attribute of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, bil-mu'minina ra'ufur rahim. That he's Ra'uf and Rahim. He's very kind and merciful with all the believers. Which means the believers that may not be in a position of needing any rahmah at this time, still he is Ra'uf with them, which means he's very kind with every believer. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, when it came to believers, he was very kind. He was very soft, very lenient, very humble. This is Ra'uf. It has been narrated in the books of the history that once Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal rahmatullahi alayhi, who used to live in Baghdad, he heard that there was a person, muhaddis, living at a distance from Baghdad, who had some ahadith with different chain of narrators than Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal rahimahullah had. And this chain of narrator was very important for muhaddiseen. So Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal rahimahullah, he went on a journey and he went specifically to go and meet that person, that muhaddis, and learn the hadith from him. When he arrived there, this muhaddis was sitting out on the street and he was feeding a dog. Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal rahmatullahi alayhi said salam to him. That muhaddis replied to the salam of Imam Ahmad rahmatullahi alayhi. And then he knows how great of a person he is, that this is the Imam of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal. Still, this muhaddis, after responding and replying to the salam, he continued feeding the dog. When the dog finished eating, now he turns to Imam Ahmad and he says, you may be upset with me because I did not pay attention to you earlier and I continued feeding the dog. Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal said, yes, I felt it in my heart that you know me and you just responded to my salam and then right away you turned towards your dog. Was that more important than me? So this person said, no, this is not the reason. The reason is, this is a strange dog in our city. I have never seen similar type of dogs in this place. This dog may have come from somewhere else. And therefore, as he came towards me and I offered the food to him, now he's expecting me to feed him. And I hated to leave the dog and destroy all of his hopes that he has in me and then turn to you because of a hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, "Man qata'a raja, man irtaja." A person who breaks a hope from someone who has hopes in him and he can fulfill his hope, قَطَعَ اللَّهُ رَجَاءَهُ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will break all of his hopes that he has from Allah on the day of judgment. And once this will happen, فَلَمْ يَلِجِ النَّارِ, this person will not be able, فَلَمْ يَلِجِ الْجَنَّةِ, he won't be able to enter the Jannah. I did not want to break the hope of this dog that he had in me, that I will feed him. This is called ra'fah. This is called kindness. That this person is so kind that now he knows that I can leave the food here, and part of the rahmah is I can leave the food here and he will eat it. But this dog is enjoying me feeding him. I don't want to even break that hope from this dog that he is looking at me, that I will feed him and I will pay so much attention to him and show so much kindness and love to him. So this is why he continued feeding the dog, and after that now he turns to Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal rahmatullahi alayhi. And here we can also see the teaching of this deen. What a beautiful deen Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us with. When today people are blaming this deen with all kind of things. Of course, one is, there are people who know it. They know this reality of this deen. And they're afraid that if this would come on surface and people would know about these realities, everything else is gone. And therefore, they would like to just bring other things that would prevent people from learning these things. But more than this, that's their problem. More than this, the problem is, we ourselves have ignored these beautiful teachings of our deen. Today, our own children are complaining against us. Our wives are complaining. Our neighbors are complaining. Things around us have not been taken care of. People, our colleagues, people who work around us, they're upset with us. They're complaining against us. So we fail to adopt these things of our deen. Yes, we perform the 5 daily prayers. We kept fast during the month of Ramadan. We performed Salatul Taraweeh. We did these ibadahs. But Islam did not come with only few things. It's a complete way of life. And these are the things that are the realities. That are realities of life. And if we start looking at ourselves from this angle, it looks like many times people really come up with this feeling that it may be that when it comes to akhlaq, we have to learn them from some other nations. But this is of course a mistake and our own ignorance of deen, and more than this, for us that we have neglected to practice the complete deen. We took only few things out of our deen. If these things really, we start adopting these things, initially we will have difficulties because you are trying to be nice, and then all of a sudden you see a person who you're trying to be nice to the person, but in return he is not doing what he's supposed to do. But this is when these qualities will help us, that you forgive the person. You keep on working with the person. And this person did a million different wrong things. That's fine. Still you need to work with the person. So this is what Ra'fa, and this is the beauty of our deen. When if people will see this type of behavior, as we can see in the life of those scholars of Islam, those great people, that this person is feeding the dog, and this is a muhaddis. This is a muhaddis. He doesn't feel that it's an insult for me to feed animals, to feed this dog. And another great muhaddis is looking at me doing it, so I should stop it right away now. No. He's doing it out of kindness to this animal, and he continues doing it. So subhanallah, this is our deen, and these are beauties of our deen that people need to know about it, and we need to educate people about it. We need to educate ourselves about it, and more than all of this, we need to start adopting these things in our lives. Another attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Maalik-ul-Mulk. Very unique and amazing attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Something very unique about this attribute is that with other attributes people may start claiming that I'm this also. I'm Rahim, I have a lot of kindness. I'm Afu, I forgive. Even if he is not there, he may be claiming it. But Maalik-ul-Mulk is something that people cannot even claim it. It's an attribute that no one can even claim it. And if someone would make that type of claim, everyone will be upset with this person. Even the ones who love him, they will be upset with him. This is the type of attribute this is. Maalik-ul-Mulk. What does it mean? The owner of the kingdom. Kings, they can be Maalik-ul-Mulk. Malik, we talked about this attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Al-Malik-ul-Quddus. Malik, the king. Malik means the owner. Malik is the king of the kingdom. Malik is the one who is the owner of the whole kingdom. And Allah is the Malik of the whole world, and therefore He is the Malik of the whole Mulk, and that is the whole world. And world, we are saying the whole world just because this is, according to our understanding, this is what everything is. Just like for an unborn child, his whole world is just whatever is in the womb of the mother. He's getting the most tasty food, he gets everything, and when he loses that, he comes to this world, he starts crying. For that child, everything, that was the whole world. And he feels this is everything that exists. And for us, this world, we feel that this is everything, and now we started learning that no, there is much more out of here. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Maalik-ul-Mulk. He is the owner of the whole kingdom. And this is something, as I said, it's an attribute that if anyone would even claim it, if any of the kings will claim this attribute today, everyone will be upset with that person. And let me explain why. Say, for example, there is a king, ruler of a country, that makes this claim that, look, your homes, you do not own them from now on. You are not the owners of your homes. I own your home. You do not own your business anymore. I own your business. Your business is my ownership. Keep on doing the business. I'll keep you doing and working with it for as long as I want, and the day I decide to take it away from you, I will take it away from you. You do not own it. Your properties, your asset that you have, you do not own it. This is the rule in our country. You do not own it. And whatever you have is mine. Whenever I decide to take it away from you, I will do so. And you will have no right to complain. Not only this, I would now go beyond this. This is what the king claims. This is what the ruler claims. I would go beyond this now, and I'm also letting you know that even your children that are at your home, I own your children. I own them. And whenever I want, I'll take your children away from you. Then it's up to me whether I send them somewhere else to live with someone else, or I just kill them and they will go out of this world. That will be my choice. You will have no right to say anything about it. Your homes, I can take them away anytime. Then it will be my choice. Either I burn down your house, or I can take it and throw it on the street and give this house to someone else. Or just demolish the house, no one should live anymore, and you will be out on the street. That will be my choice. You will not have any right to make any claims to it or any complaints about it. Who would accept any person making these type of claims or accepting to live in a situation like this? No person. No one accepts anything like this. But when it comes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Maalik-ul-Mulk. And this is exactly what He is. I'm giving you your house to live in it for some time. You pay for it, maintain it, build it, do whatever. Whenever I decide to take it away from you, I will take it away from you. Either it will be burned down, or I will give it to someone else to live in it, or it will be just destroyed and no one is going to live in it. You will be out on the street, you will be in the camps, you will be somewhere else, but you won't be allowed to live in the house anymore. Maalik-ul-Mulk. See, subhanallah. Now we can realize who is this Rabb subhanahu wa ta'ala. Your asset, your property, your everything that you have, you don't own any of those things. I'm Maalik-ul-Mulk. I own them. You can keep them, you can work with them, you can enjoy them for as long as I allow you to have it. Whenever I decide to take it away from you, then everything will be taken away from you. You have no right to complain. Your children, I own your children, and whenever I decide, I'll take them away from you. Either I'll send them somewhere else, they will live with someone else. They're your children, they're living somewhere else. Other people are benefiting from their abilities, and parents are looking for some help in the same field and they can't get it. And whenever I want, I just take these children out of this world. When I decide to take them away from you, that's it. They will have to leave, and you will have no say in it. Maalik-ul-Mulk subhanahu wa ta'ala. قُلِ اللَّهُمَّ مَالِكَ الْمُلْكِ. Say, Ya Allah, you are Maalik-ul-Mulk. You are the owner of the kingdom. You are not just the king of the kingdom. You are the owner of the kingdom. تُؤْتِ الْمُلْكَ مَنْ تَشَاءُ. You give the kingdom to whoever you like. وَتَنْزِعُ الْمُلْكَ مِمَّنْ تَشَاءُ. You take the kingdom away from whoever you want. وتعز من تشاء وتذل من تشاء بيدك الخير إنك على كل شيء قدير. And the ayahs still continue that are still talking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being Maalik-ul-Mulk subhanahu wa ta'ala, the owner of the kingdom. He does whatever he wants in whichever way he wants. He owns everything. No one can stop him from doing anything he wants. And this is what we see when a person dies and you hear about someone's death. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. We all belong to Allah. We all will return to Him. Which simply means that there is nothing we can do about this person's death. He died. Inna lillahi. We all belong to Allah. He belonged to Allah. He went back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. She belonged to Allah. She went back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A child dies in the house. Parents love this child. They got a child after so many years. They loved him. They did so much. They spent so much on the child. The child is gone. Can they do anything about it? Maalik-ul-Mulk subhanahu wa ta'ala, who gave them the child, now he took the child. There is nothing. There is nothing a human being can do about it. Because the Malik of this child took the child away. This is what Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said when he got the message that his granddaughter was dying. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Inna lillahi ma a'ta wa lahu ma akhad. Whatever Allah gives, it's His. It comes from Him. And He is the owner of it. وَلَهُ مَا أَخَذْ. And whatever He takes, that is also His. We can't do nothing about it. There is nothing that we can do about it. It's His. So we have to accept the fact that He is Maalik-ul-Mulk subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is the owner. He is the owner of everything. When He decides, He gives us whatever He wants. And when He decides to take it away from us, that's His decision. And He's Maalik-ul-Mulk subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the real Maalik-ul-Mulk, now we can understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being Maalik-ul-Mulk simply means Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who decides about anything coming into existence or things going out of existence. That is Maalik-ul-Mulk's decision. What will exist, what will not exist. Who will be born and who will die. That's Maalik-ul-Mulk's decision. No one can stop him from this. Who will be honored and who will be dishonored. That is the decision of Maalik-ul-Mulk subhanahu wa ta'ala. Who will be punished, who will be saved. That is the decision of Maalik-ul-Mulk. Because He is the owner of everything. No one can question Him. لا يسأل عما يفعل وهم يسألون. He cannot be questioned about anything that He does because He is the owner of it. This is mine. What do you have to do with it? You throw something, a nice couch. You throw it out of your home. And you put it on the curb for the garbage people to pick it up. Someone comes and knocks at your door and he starts shouting and cursing at you. Why did you throw such a nice couch out there? You tell him, it's none of your business. I own it. It's my property. And I didn't want it. I just threw it away. It's my decision. I own it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Maalik-ul-Mulk. He does whatever He wants. There is no one besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that can even claim to be Maalik-ul-Mulk. Why? Just think about it. Just think about it for a minute. That when it comes to people like us, human beings, forget about, sometimes we feel that I own my home or my property or I own this and this. Subhanallah, when it comes to Malik, being the one who controls and who owns something, we are having difficulty controlling just ourselves. You need some examples? How about our desires? Are they within our control? Can we really control our desires? They're out of our control. We cannot even control our own desires that are within us. We are not able to control our emotions. Sometimes the person is angry, later on he feels, oh, I wish I can control my anger, but I can't. He falls into love. Oh, I wish after 20 years, I wish I never had done it 20 years ago. We have no control over our own desires and our emotions. Not even over our tongue. Oh, I wish I had never said this. But the person sees so many things. If we start just trying to control our tongue, we will realize how difficult that is. and a person says he's Maalik-ul-Mulk, or he's Malik of something. Malik of what? We cannot control our tongue. This small piece of flesh that has been placed in so many covers. There are teeth in front of it. You can bite on it if you're upset, but you don't bite even on it. I mean, there are lips, you can close them. No one can even see your tongue. But still, the person keeps on saying and saying and saying. Even this tongue is not under control. And then, when it comes to our thoughts, just forget about it. These thoughts are so out of control that there is no way any human being can control these thoughts. No control. And just these simple things are telling us, human being, what are you? Who are you? What control do you have? What do you have in this world? You cannot even control yourself. You cannot control your own desires. You cannot control your own thoughts. You cannot control your own emotions. You cannot control your own tongue. You cannot control your own eyes. SubhanAllah. We look at ourselves. And we know all of these things. So, really when it comes to human beings, there is so much weakness over there that we cannot even think of being Malik of anything. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the owner of everything. And here I may just mention it as a point of interest and something that may help all of us inshallah. And that is, scholars have prescribed a beautiful way of controlling our bad thoughts. Controlling the bad thoughts that come from shaitan. And that is, sometimes people try to fight with their thoughts to stop them. There is no way. This brain is going to keep on functioning and working, so it has to function somewhere. So instead of trying to stop the brain from functioning, don't do that. Change the direction of this brain. Change the direction of the thoughts. How to change the direction? Shaitan is bringing bad thoughts to disturb this person's life. This is what he wants. This is what Shaitan wants, that he would like to disturb the life of every believer. You are in salah and you feel like you want to concentrate, but there are so many thoughts coming into the person's mind that now the person is so disturbed after salah, I couldn't even do one salah in my life properly. But now, when these thoughts are coming into your mind, you just say, Subhanallah, Ya Allah, how great you are. How can you control the whole world, the whole kingdom? I cannot even just control my thought, my brain. When you use the very same thought to connect yourself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and realizing the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, shaitan stops whispering. Because he doesn't want you to have any good thing out of it. He was expecting for you to have some evils out of it. But now you're using the very same thought for realizing the greatness of Allah and connecting yourself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and now you're glorifying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ya Allah, look at these thoughts, how they are just running into my mind, and I have no control over them, and you are controlling the whole dunya, and you are controlling billions of people like me that have these type of thoughts, and you know all of these thoughts. Subhanallah, how great you are, Ya Allah. With this, the bad ones will stop. And this is, you can practice it, you will see it, the bad ones will stop. And our habit is, when normal thoughts are going through our mind, we don't get disturbed and we don't get worried, and then we don't even think about the greatness of Allah. When the bad one comes and a mu'min who has iman in his heart is disturbed by these bad thoughts, oh, I didn't want to have these bad thoughts. And this is the only time when we start paying attention, oh, I have so many thoughts. In normal situations, we don't even realize how many thoughts are going through our mind. We don't even pay attention to them. Because they're normal ones. And they don't worry us. They don't bother us. We don't get worried by them. But when the bad ones start coming, and you start thinking why this thing is coming into your mind, and now if you start using this technique, and that is turn to Allah subhanallah, Ya Allah, now I realize these thoughts are just going through my mind, so many thoughts, and I have no control over them. How great you are, Ya Allah, subhanallah. You are controlling the whole world, you are controlling the whole system, you are controlling the sun, moon, and the stars. And if it was up to me, I couldn't even control my own thought, and that will just make the shaitan go away from and will stop whispering. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Maalik-ul-Mulk subhanahu wa ta'ala, and human beings really if we start looking at realities, we have no ownership of anything. We don't control anything. And anything that we sign papers and notarize them and register them and do everything, the ownership means nothing. The person is gone and everything is gone. The person does not even has control over his own life. So it's Maalik-ul-Mulk subhanahu wa ta'ala who owns everything. فَسُبْحَانَ الَّذِي بِيَدِهِ مَلَكُوتُ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ. You have read this somewhere. فَسُبْحَانَ الَّذِي بِيَدِهِ مَلَكُوتُ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ وَإِلَيْهِ تُرْجَعُونَ. Glory to Allah. Glory to Allah who بِيَدِهِ مَلَكُوتُ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ, who has the kingdom of everything, who has the ownership of everything. This is what Allah is reminding us in that beautiful surah, Surah Yasin. Glory to Allah who has the control over everything. مَلَكُوتُ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ, the kingdom and the ownership of everything. وَإِلَيْهِ تُرْجَعُونَ, and He owns you so much that you all will return to Him. You can't go where you want. You all will return to Him. وَإِلَيْهِ تُرْجَعُونَ. Another attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Dhul-Jalali Wal-Ikram. This attribute, we have talked about it before, because it's a combination of two different attributes. Jalal, we talked about the attribute Al-Jalil subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Ikram is from Kareem, and we talked about Al-Kareem subhanahu wa ta'ala. We talked about both of these, Al-Jalil and Al-Kareem. But there are many ahadith that encourage us reciting these two names together in this form, Dhul-Jalali Wal-Ikram. This is why this is considered to be totally different attribute. And that is for the purpose of dhikr, reminder, and remembering it and reciting it. Because it talks about two different attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which are totally opposite of each other. Jalal. Jalal simply refers to the attributes of Allah that are referring to the anger of Allah, the wrath of Allah, Dhul-Intiqam, Azizun, Dhul-Intiqam, powerful, and He can punish, and he makes people pay for their wrongdoings. And then Ikram from Karam, Kareem, Rahmah, love, kindness. And Dhul-Jalali Wal-Ikram really is a combination of all of these attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Is a reminder, you can say, of all the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that Allah is Dhul-Jalali Wal-Ikram. That if we do wrong, then we have to be afraid of Al-Dhul-Jalal. And inshallah, whenever we feel of turning back and doing something good, we need to remember Al-Kareem, Dhul-Ikram, Al-Kareem subhanahu wa ta'ala. Surah Al-Rahman, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have used this attribute two times. Dhul-Jalali Wal-Ikram and Dhul-Jalali Wal-Ikram. And there is a hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Alizzu biya Dhul-Jalali Wal-Ikram, means that hold strongly to this attribute, Ya Dhul-Jalali Wal-Ikram, which means keep on reciting this all the time, Ya Dhul-Jalali Wal-Ikram, because it reminds you of all of these types of attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of the Jalal of Allah and of the Karam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because sometimes when a person just goes towards the attributes of Rahmah, he starts forgetting the attributes of Jalal. And you hear people saying, oh, Allah is Ghafurur Rahim, He is forgiving and He is merciful, He is forgiving, and inshallah He will forgive us. We need to remind ourselves that He is Dhul Jalal. And sometimes a person feels, I have done so much wrong, there is no way I can get the forgiveness, and now I will be punished for sure. We need to remind that person of Dhul Ikram, that Allah is Kareem, is forgiving. Don't worry about it. So this is the combination of both Dhul Jalali Wal Ikram, and this is why Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is recommending that we should always have the habit, develop the habit of reciting this name of Allah, Dhul Jalali Wal Ikram, Ya Dhul Jalali Wal Ikram, Ya Dhul Jalali Wal Ikram. Another attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Al-Muqsit. Muqsit is very similar to Al-Adl subhanahu wa ta'ala, which means the just. And we talked in detail about Al-Adl subhanahu wa ta'ala. But there is little difference between Al-Adl and Al-Muqsit. أقسط يقسط in Arabic language means when a person would do justice, but this person is not satisfied by just doing justice, which means a judge sitting in a courthouse, and two people would go to him, and this judge is adl, is just, and he will do the justice in issuing his ruling. This judge did everything that he could do and he was supposed to do, and he is adl, he is adil, he is adil, that he is just. But now, after this, would this person pay him back? The judge have issued the ruling, you have to pay him back, you have to do this, you have to do this. How to make sure that this person will do all of these things? How to make sure the person to whom injustice was done is pleased, and at the end he is satisfied? Not only this, how to make sure that the zalim, the wrongdoer who has to pay it, he will not have to pay more than the wrong he has done. Because a lot of time then you can use different agencies, and now after when you start going this, following that track, the person who was the wrongdoer may end up paying more than what he has done initially. So in both ways, something is wrong somewhere, and some injustice was done somewhere in between. While trying to give justice to one person, injustice was done to another person. So holding that balance, making sure at the end both of them paid for whatever they have done and got whatever they deserve, this is called qist. This is what al-iqsat means. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is al-muqsit, which means everyone. Muqsit is driven from the word qist, and qist means share, and muqsit means the one who gives everyone his proper share. So everyone gets his proper share. Neither the zalim, the wrongdoer, has to give more, nor the mazloom is going to be getting more, or he will have to let something go. Both of them will get their full share. This is al-muqsit subhanahu wa ta'ala. And because the word muqsit means share in its initial form, qaf, sin, ta, means qasd, means share. So now this word is very amazing in Arabic language. As it changes forms, it starts taking some very unique meanings. And this is why when this word is used as qasid, the form, when it takes the form of qasid, it means zalim. And when you call it, it takes the form of muqsit, it means the person who is not only doing justice, he is making every person gets his proper share, and he's making sure of it. And this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Quran, وَأَمَّا الْقَاسِطُونَ فَكَانُوا لِجَهَنَّمَ حَطَبًا. Qasitin are the fuel of the hellfire. See, very similar words. A woman in fact, was presented to Al-Hajjaj bin Yusuf with a lot of claims against her, and people knew that this woman is very vocal, and she was very outspoken, and she would always talk against Hajjaj. So when she was presented to Hajjaj bin Yusuf, he asked her, "What do you think of me?" She said, "Anta adilun muqsit, anta adilun qasid, anta adilun qasid." You are adil and you are qasid. Everyone amazed that this is a woman who always talks against him, and today she is admiring him. Adil. We may be able to relate this word to adil, that justice, and qasid again, if a person would consider it from qist, that muqsid, look at the name attribute muqsid, that just. So you are just and you are extreme just. Hajjaj bin Yusuf, when it came to Arabic language, he was really master in it. There were two people at that time that were known to be the masters in the language. Hajjaj ibn Yusuf and Al-Hasan al-Basri rahmatullahi alayhi. Two people totally opposite of each other. But yes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them that knowledge. And this is why his speeches were very powerful. So, when she said, Anta adilun qasid, Hajjaj bin Yusuf asked the people sitting around him, he said, do you know what she is telling me? He said, no, she is admiring you. He said, no, she is not. Adil, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Quran, Adil means to balance something. You know, justice. Justice means balancing it. When there is good balance, then this is adl. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, ثُمَّ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا بِرَبِّهِمْ يَعْدِلُونَ. The disbelievers, they make other things equivalent to Allah. They are putting others in the level of Allah. So she said, you are adil, which means you are considering yourself to be on the level of Allah. So he said, she's not admiring me. And she is telling me I'm qasid. And she is taking it from that ayah, وَأَمَّا الْقَاسِطُونَ فَكَانُوا لِجَهَنَّمَ حَطَبًا. That qasitin, which means wrongdoers, zalimeen, oppressors, are the fuel of the hellfire. So this is, as I said, very amazing word that takes different shapes and forms, and then accordingly the meaning changes in the language. And this also tells us the depth of the language and the importance of knowing these different types of rules of the language before a person can understand the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because a lot of time we read the translation and then all of a sudden a person feels that now I can really translate the Quran, I can understand it, I can explain it, and going beyond this I can give fatwa and I can give lectures and I can teach people and everything. Just a simple example of it maybe, so that we can understand it. And hopefully then from now on, anyone that hears this will not make this mistake of considering ourselves to be in that level of interpreting Quran, giving the tafsir of Quran and reading the translation and then trying to give lectures about it and explaining it to others. We read in Surah Al-Rahman, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَالنَّجْمُ وَالشَّجَرُ يَسْجُدَانِ. Who does the sujood? Najm and shajar. Shajar means trees. Najm means stars. Now you will be surprised if you open the Quran and look what An-Najm means. Go back and look at the translation. If a translator have really looked at the books of tafsir before translating وَالنَّجْمُ وَالشَّجَرُ يَسْجُدَانِ, it won't say stars and trees. It will say something different. If there isn't a translation, let's pick it up quickly and see what does a translation say. And here we feel, see, if someone will present this ayah to us, we'll say it's very simple. I know it. An-Najm means stars. So at least this much I can tell. This will tell us we should not even tell this much. That وَالنَّجْمُ وَالشَّجَرُ يَسْجُدَانِ. Stars and trees do the sajda, but really here if you look at the tafsir, Najm doesn't mean stars. The translation here is, and the herbs and trees both bow in adoration. So the translation of Najm is here, herbs. Najm in Arabic language has another meaning, and that is small plants. And this is what a Najm means. So now we know that when you look at the ayah of Quran, and seems very familiar, and I know the language, I know at least this much of the language, I can translate it. No. You can see the mistake now. Anyway, I was mentioning the meaning of al-Muqsid subhanahu wa ta'ala, that it changes forms and accordingly it has different meanings. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is al-Muqsid. And part of his justice that he would like all of us to observe, we see that is not only that he's ordering us of al-adl, he's even also ordering us of to be muqsid, that we go beyond this and make sure every person gets his right and everything gets its right and its share. And this is why he says, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said in a hadith, Inna li jasadika alayka haq. Your body has a right on you. Wali zawjika alayka haq. Your wife has a right over you. Wali zawrika alayka haq. Your visitors have right over you. And وَلِعَيْنِكَ عَلَيْكَ حَقٍّ. Your eyes have right over you. فَأَعْطِ كُلَّ ذِي حَقٍّ حَقَّهُ. Make sure that every person gets his and her rights. This is qist. That a person is living that type of life where there is full justice and he is making sure that he gives everyone his share. Now a person comes into ibadah and he is so much into ibadah that he forgets the whole world. And now children are suffering, family is suffering. This is not qist. This is against it. So Islam is teaching us that we should have this quality of being muqsat. That we be just and we hold to justice in everything and we give everything the share that that person or that thing deserves. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is muqsat, and He is the only real muqsat in the whole world, because He is the one who's giving everything what that thing deserves. Everything gets what that thing deserves, and people who will leave this world without getting it, this is not the end of it. To us, because of our short sight, we feel that this is the end of it, and this person did not get what he deserved. No, that day is coming when every person will be standing there before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And وَنَضَعُ الْمَوَازِينَ الْقِسْطَ لِيَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ. See the word qist? وَنَضَعُ الْمَوَازِينَ الْقِسْطَ لِيَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ. Today, on the day of judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I will put all the scales of the justice there, and full justice will be done on that day. Qist will be done on that day. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give all of us tawfiq to have close connection with our Rabb subhanahu wa ta'ala, understand the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and benefit from understanding these attributes and be able to have that strong connection with Rabbul Alameen subhanahu wa ta'ala. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين والمسلمات وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.